Mike Sullivan is a former IRS agent and IRS teaching instructor, and he has worked over 10,000 cases and has been dealing directly with the IRS for over 50 years. Throughout his distinguished career, helping taxpayers resolve IRS problems, he's appeared as a news correspondent about IRS matters on Fox, ABC, Newsmax, News Nation, and other national broadcasts. He's now working alongside me at Accounting Freedom, helping taxpayers like yourself get out from under burdensome tax debt. So, Mike, either while you were at the IRS or while in private practice, what was the most common problem or situation that you came across?
Had so many. I've been shot at. I've been almost murdered. I've been through situations lit on fire. People don't like people who've worked for IRS because you've been audited and they cause problems in your life. But I've had a lot of just scary moments. I guess the scariest moment I had is when I went in to see someone's business. It was actually like a 7-Eleven, like a mini market, and the person, I'd been there just multiple times because the person was a terrible delinquent. And I give everyone a break. I'm not one of those really hardcore people, but the guy, myself, and the taxpayer who was there just was, he was really a nasty person. And when I went in there to seize his business and close it up, I did not know he had prepared for this, I guess, ahead of time. Because the last time I was there, I said, if you continue to do what you're doing, I'm going to have to close the doors of your business. I'm going to have to literally lock them. And I did not know that at the time, but he had a gallon can of gas. I remember it specifically. It was tin. It was red and yellow. It said gasoline on it. And he got that gasoline and he chased us around the 7-Eleven. Imagine you're in a mini market. Yeah, the front door now is locked because he had a button to lock it, and he's chasing myself and the other agent with me, and he is throwing gas on us. He had matches, and he would say, I am going to burn you two like St. Joan of Arc. And he chased us. We were knocked aside. It was a scene like right out of the movies. We didn't know what to do. So, there was this little entrance to go in the back. So I went in the back. I'm thinking, well, he's going to get one of us. Maybe it's not me. If one of us is going to burn, I don't want to be the one to burn. Well, anyway, I found out the back door was open. So I yelled to the person. I was like, hey, Dennis, come out the back door. The back door is open. Well, he forgot to go ahead and lock the back door. And I got out and Dennis got out. We were both younger, a lot younger at the time. Matter of fact, this took place in 1975, and we were able to get out the back door without being burnt. But we definitely had gas on us, and luckily the matches he flicked tried to get us to light us on fire. They missed us, and he was arrested naturally about 15 minutes later.
Oh my gosh.
I was able to grab a Reese's cup and stick it in my pocket. You'll remember that. I figured if I'm going through this, I want a Reese's cup. So I got a Reese's cup, and when they were arresting him, I actually pulled it out and I showed it to him. I said, hey, this is really good. I didn't pay for it. But anyway, yeah, that was one of the incidents that happened to me.
Wow. Okay, that's wild. So was this actually kind of common? Because it's funny, I started the interview, I was just wondering something that's kind of, a common problem, and I did not expect that and then my next question was going to be, what's a crazy situation? I didn't expect that, actually a common problem for you was actually some of the crazy situations.
Yeah, these are real. Remember, when I worked back at the IRS, we could do anything we want. All you need was my signature and someone to accompany me. We could close and lock up any business. We could seize any home at the time. We wouldn't go inside the home. We tell them we're selling their home. Here's the papers. I don't know how many cars. If you see some of these shows with people with wreckers taking cars, that was me. Only I'd hand the papers, call a wrecker company, and they'd actually, I don't know, I probably seized between, I don't know, 300 to 500 cars because I made seizures with other people. Back when I was there, I worked a narcotic trafficking program, and we seized the homes and yachts of drug lords at that time. So I have made many hundred seizures while I was at the IRS. I have really many stories. I don't want to go into them and bore
Sure.
you. Very exciting. We were a lot
Yeah.
at the
So,
time.
but
Yeah.
in general, like, is this so then, because after the IRS, let me just make it clear. So after the IRS, then you went into private practice on the opposite side, helping the taxpayers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, oh, yeah, go ahead. So it's a lot different because I know I know what IRS does in every situation because not only was I an agent, I was a teaching instructor as well. Not only was I a teaching instructor in the local office and on the job instructor, I actually was sent to Atlanta a couple times to teach people in the Southeast District of the United States how to go ahead and do certain things. And
sure.
yeah, so
So,
that we did.
so then tell us, like, what are some of the IRS secrets that may help taxpayers that they wouldn't know about?
There's a lot of secrets depending on what the situation is. For instance, if you miss your IRS audit, you can do what's called an audit reconsideration. You fill out one form. I think it's a form 3598, and you can get your audit back open. The
Or
offer
that's actually the publication, right? Not quite the form, but the publication number.
It's we call it the form is the publication. So at least to me, it is doesn't make any difference how anybody frames it. But yeah, you just fill that out, send it in, and you can go ahead and get your audit, back open. You can settle your IRS debt, but here's where people get ripped off by people. There's a lot of scammers that are out there. I know because I get these calls, as you know, Peppy, I get this many. I get at least 4 calls a week of people been ripped off because what people don't know, as you know, is that salespeople are answering these phones. They're not speaking to attorneys. They're not speaking to CPAs. They're usually speaking to secretaries and salesperson, and people are just getting ripped off over and
You're referring to when a taxpayer is trying to find help with their tax debt, right?
absolutely. Yeah. I'm cautioning everyone here, if you have an issue, 2 things I urge you to do. Number one, find out who the person is you're speaking to. I'm telling you, 90% of the time to 95, you're talking to a salesperson. The second thing, before you write a check, I would tell you to Zoom with the person because it's a good way, right? When people call us, we Zoom with them, and that's how you know if the person's real or not. You'll know right away if that's the case.
So what does it take? Like, how does somebody get to that step where there's an IRS levy and there's agents coming in and seizing stuff? Like, what's the process to get there?
Yeah, well, just so you know, if she's asking me the question, she knows the answer. So she's asking these questions for you. So that's why we're doing this is really to help you. If you owe IRS tax debt, and probably if you're watching this segment, you probably do. IRS is really good. They send out a LT-14 first, then they go into the CP series collection notices. They send out a 501, a 503. The 504 is a knee jerker. You know how many cases we got like that, that people will go ahead and they get this letter that IRS is going to levy them. They're going to seize them. They can contact their neighbors and they're going to file a federal tax lien. That letter, as you know, comes out certified. And then the next letter is your last notice. And if you don't respond to that notice, you stick your head in the sand like an ostrich. IRS is going to take your wages, your bank account, and lien. But IRS, as you know, they notify everybody of what they're going to do before they do it. So if you're in that situation, IRS has tried to get those. Now you may have moved, but you're going to have to act really fast because IRS is your bank account's going to be gone, your wages are going to be gone, and you may file a fine IRS file a federal tax lien.
So precautionary, everybody should keep their address updated so that they're aware of these
Yeah,
letters coming in the mail because it's not just going to happen out of nowhere or overnight. No one's just going to show up.
right.
There will be forewarning, and that's the time to seek help depending on the size of the debt. So, what would you tell people then, Mike, if they haven't filed for like 20 years or maybe like never, and they're just like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get out of this. It's been 20 years. What would you tell them?
Well, I can tell you as a former agent, when I was there, you'd go out and you'd knock on the doors, go to businesses, and people have a fear. After they don't file the first and second year, you're afraid, you're landlocked, you don't know what to do. The longer it goes, it just keeps going and going and going. And now you have this fear built up. And God, when tax season comes and you hear all these commercials, you get worried. Tax season leaves and it kind of goes, then the cycle starts. As you know, we have people that have never filed returns. Sometimes they haven't filed, what, for 30 years, 20 years. IRS is a policy statement, P5 133. You may not, IRS keeps policy statements around. You only have to file the last 6 years. No matter how many you haven't filed, you only got to cut six. So you want to go ahead and contact her, and she'll go ahead and get you started just like that. And then we'll work out a deal with IRS. What's a deal? You get put in uncollectible, a payment agreement, or you can settle your tax debt, but you only have to file the last 6 years. And here's the other thing, is that a lot of people say, well, gee, I don't have the records. That's very common. Well, IRS has all your 1099s and your W-2s already on their system, so you use those. Now, some of you don't even have W-2s and 1099s. That's where we can go ahead and reconstruct your records, because as former IRS agents, we know how to reconstruct your records. So
and accounting and bookkeepers know how to reconstruct them too.
Yes, people who are trained know exactly I'll give you one example so you know. The cost of living is a great idea, a great tool to find out how much you make. If I know where you rent or where you have your mortgage, I know that's usually a third of your total income for that year. So there's a third, two-third ratios, as you know. There's statistics and patterns people use, and boom, you can prepare the return close enough to be correct.
And would you say that's also how the IRS might know if you're hiding income? Like if you've got large expenses, but your bank account's not showing the money coming in, maybe that would be a red flag, like, oh, where's their income coming from that's maybe not being reported?
That's a great point. Not only is it a red flag, it's a red flag with neon on it, like neon lights flashing. So if I were to pull your tax return, and I'd go and show you made 50,000, and I go find your house, and I know that house is a $700,000 house, I know immediately there's unreported income. So there's a way IRS knows. You're not going to fool the IRS. You're not. We're trained so well. We know all the tendencies. We know where people really take more advantage or cheat. I don't want to use the word cheat, but we know where people go ahead and they've exposed themselves and they're not. I'm going to give you one example. This is a big one for you to understand. This is really cool. So I walked into, it was a Subway dealer, and this is many years ago. And I said, hey, I need I need to know what your tax return. I said, oh, I can't give you my returns. I have no idea what I made. He said, I don't want to give them to you anyways. And he said, what are you going to do? Just sit here all day and count count every customer? Is that what you're going to do? And he was really cocky. And I said, well, believe it or not, I know a way to do this easy. He said, there's no way you can. So he was really cocky. And when you piss off an IRS agent, they can piss you back off really easy. So what I did is I summoned for two things. I want you to think of the two things that Subway sells that if you multiply, you could figure out what the income is. Just use your mind, think of what those two things are. What are they? So if you take their bread order, the amount of bread they used, and you can figure the average Subway maybe is $6. So you take 20% away for just it wasn't used. Now you have an 80% factor. The other thing is cups. They make a lot of money on their drinks. Take that 20% away. So you figure how many cups did they buy? How much bread did they use? You do your multiplication times a year, and boom, that's what their income. And
that makes sense.
The same thing goes true for I had a case on someone who owned a laundromat. And the person says, no, are you gonna count quarters and dimes and nickels? I says, no. Remember, IRS has market specialization programs on everything. There isn't anything IRS doesn't have a market specialization. All I needed to pull was two bills. So if you're listening, what two bills do you think I pulled? I summoned for.
Electricity,
What's the other thing they use?
um,
What do you have to put in the
water.
water? I get those two utility bills. I know what everyone else, because I have market specialization statistics. I know exactly what you in fact do. There is no industry that IRS doesn't have market specialization programs for. When they go out, they know more about your business than you think that they know. More, actually more about your business than you know about your business, because they've gathered all the statistics, they've run algorithms on everyone's industry, and boom, they're in just one file. Isn't that pretty cool?
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Can the IRS see a taxpayer's bank account?
I could go ahead and just summons for the bank. I just go out and fill out a form 2039. That's the exact form I use. I go ahead and hand it to the bank, and they've got to give me anything that I list. So if it was a business, corporate resolutions, anything the bank has, and I'd go ahead and ask for their records. The other thing that's really cool, you don't know, these are really two really cool things. I could pull your credit report up. I can then go ahead and say and actually ask Amex to send me all your purchases. So I know how much you purchased. I know what you purchased. They can just do that like that. So that's one. Here's a real sneaky one. Here's a secret that the two of us know that we're going to, this is one of the gems we're going to give you today. So if you've ever applied for credit, you've given that person a what to get your credit? You've given them a financial statement. What we do is we summons for that fine. And when you summons for a financial statement for credit, you've done the very best to show you have money and you have assets. So when I get that financial statement and compare it to the one you gave IRS, I'll bet you they're not the same. That's a really cool one. And I'm going to tell you one more thing. Don't tell anybody. I have the ability to find out what you have on your Facebook page, your Instagram, and your social media. So I can find out if you went on vacation, what purchases you've made, where you've been, and that better appear in your bank statements, because if it doesn't, I know you may have unreported income. So don't try to fool me.
Or
Don't
hidden bank accounts even.
hidden bank accounts, because we know where you went. So don't try to fool. We're here to help you, both of us, but we know all these things to actually be your thermos to protect you, right, from anything, in fact, that may come up.
So you mentioned Subway sandwiches, the restaurant, and here's a fun fact. That was actually my first W-2 job.
No, it was not.
I was 15 years old. Yeah.
Seriously. What how many sandwiches do you think you made?
Oh, I haven't a clue.
What's your favorite bread?
Oh, I would always get the honey oat.
Yeah, honey, I'm the cheesy guy.
Oh, I
Okay.
love the cheesy one too. Yeah.
So anyway, just remember, anytime you go in a Subway, I want you to think of us. If you drive by a laundromat, I want you to think of us. Because every business, and I'm telling you, and she well knows, every business IRS has statistics on. So, you may be higher or lower, but it's easy really to figure out when you work there a long time, just like that. And what if you need a tax return reconstructed, if you have an audit, we use all this information ahead of time because we know what IRS is going to do on your case. That's where our strength is.
If anyone is watching this and has unresolved tax problems, what advice would you give them that they need to know right now?
Well, two things. As a former agent, when I knock on every door, two things that you must do. IRS wants to make sure the problem stopped. How do the two things? The problem stops. All your tax returns are filed. And if you're self-employed, they want to make sure you're making estimate payments. That's how you stop a problem. You be current in the now. In other words, if you haven't filed, get your returns filed in the next couple of weeks. If you need to make estimate tax payments or move up your withholding, make sure at the time you file this year's tax return by next, there's never going to be a problem again. IRS doesn't want to get someone who has continued spiraling debt. So you have to stop the problem. That's what I suggest that everybody do.
Mike, do you have anything else to add?
No, I just want to tell you, we offer something very unique that most people don't. You know, most people get on their computer and they're searching all these sponsored links. If you see a sponsored link, someone has paid to put their information there. Some of these people spend $250,000, these radio ads and all these ads. Just want you to know, at the end of the day, you're speaking to salespeople. You're speaking to people who just want to go ahead and get in your back pocket because they've been trained. They know how to read scripts. They know exactly what to do. So to get your money, if you want to solve your problem, you've got to go to people who actually know what they're doing. So when you do your due diligence, you'll find out we know the system better than anybody. That's what I have to tell people.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you, Mike. If you are facing pressure from the IRS and are seeking tax relief, please contact us today at backtaxes911.com. We can help you unburden yourself from the tax debt and get you and your business back in IRS compliance. Thank you, Mike, and thank you all so much for watching.